Táilte roimh go léir do Matt and Michael na Cockisha show. Welcome to this fortnight's Matt and Michael. Here I am in front of what's known sometimes as the Model School, sometimes as the Brothers, and sometimes as Boyne Community School. In 1831, the national school system was set up in Ireland, and as part of that system, model schools were set up under the direct control of the National Board of Education in order to help train teachers for the schools. Model schools were built in 13 Irish towns, including Trim. And this one here was begun in 1849 and opened in 1850. It was non-denominational, and it was supported by the rector at the time, the famous Richard Butler, and by the parish priest, Father John O'Connell. In 1870, the Royal Commission on Education recommended that the model schools be closed. And so Trim, like all the others, became an ordinary, locally managed national school. In 1946, the Christian Brothers arrived in Trim, took over the model school, refurbished it at the cost of £16,000 and opened it in 1947 as a new secondary school. When the Christian Brothers left Trim, it became St. Michael's Diocesan School. Then in 2001, this school was amalgamated with Trim Vocational School to become the present Boyne Community School.
Yes, Marie Galer. I always associate this song with my late cousin and namesake Matt Gilson, who passed away just over 2 years ago. I yesterday grabbed on him. So, in memory of my late cousin, I will sing it again. It's Santa Lucia. Matt Gilson taught this to me about 75 years ago. And I remember checking at the time, a couple of years ago when I sang it before. The words on Google are exactly as he taught me. So, here we go. Sul mare luccica l'astro d'argento, placida e l'onda, prosperi il vento. Sul mare luccica l'astro d'argento, placida e l'onda, prospera il vento. Venite agile, barchetta mia, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. O dolce Napoli, so sol beato, ove sorridere volle il creato. O dolce Napoli, o sol beato, ove sorridere vuole il creato. Tu sei l'impero dell'armonia, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia. conquest Rosifero, così soave, oh come bello star sulla nave, conquesto zeffiro, così soave, oh come bello star sulla nave, su passeggeri venite via, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia, su passeggeri venite via, Santa Lucia, Santa Lucia.
This year sees the centenary of the birth of the English poet Philip Larkin. He was born on the 9th of August 1922 in Coventry, but he's mostly associated with Hull, where he was a university librarian. He wrote poems about the commonplace details of life, which avoided sentimentality or self-pity. He died in 1985. He's probably most famous for that poem which includes a rude word. Now, we in Matt and Michael would never use a rude word. So here's another poem of his called The Moor. The Moor by Philip Larkin. The moor stalled twice. Kneeling, I found a hedgehog jammed up against the blades, killed. It had been in the long grass. I had seen it before and even fed it once. Now I had mauled its unobtrusive world unmendably. Burial was no help. The next morning I got up and it did not. The first day after a death, the new absence is always the same. We should be careful of each other. We should be kind while there is still time.
Did you ever have one of those moments when your mind gets sort of stopped in its tracks by an event or an occurrence? The sort of incident like remembering exactly where you were when you heard of Diana's death. That sort of thing. It's an emotional thing. I had one such incident during a late show many years ago. It was in Gay Byrne's time. And Ulick O'Connor was a panellist. And his guest was Don McLean, that great American folk singer. And Gay asked Don would he sing something, and of course he did. And the following 3 or 4 minutes are what stuck in my mind. We were all spellbound, including the audience. He sang The Mountains of Mourne. And it's the manner of the delivery that was so different. So different from anything we'd ever heard before. He turned it into a kind of a serious song. And the guitar accompaniment was beautiful. And I'll always remember it as one of those great moments of television in my personal life. I'll see if I can sing it for you. Oh Mary, this London's a wonderful sight, with the people here working by day and by night. They don't sow potatoes nor barley nor wheat, but there's gangs of them digging for gold in the street. At least when I asked them, that's what I was told. So I just took a hand at this digging for gold. For all that I found there, I might as well be where the mountains of Mourne sweep down to the sea. I believe that when writing a wish you expressed as to how the fine ladies of London are dressed. Well, if you'll believe me, when asked to a ball, sure they don't wear a top to their dresses at all. I've seen them myself, and you would not in truth know if they were bound for a ball or a bath. Don't be starting them fashions now, Mary McLean, where the mountains of Mourne sweep down to the sea. You remember young Peter O'Loughlin, of course. Well, he's over here now at the head of the force. I met him today, I was crossing the Strand, and he stopped the whole street with a wave of his hand. And there we stood talking of days that are gone, while the whole town of London just stood looking on. But for all his great powers, he's wishful like me, to be back where the dark Mourne sweeps down to the sea. There's beautiful girls here, but never you mind, with beautiful shapes nature never designed, and lovely complexions, all roses and cream. But O'Loughlin remarked, with regard to the same, that if at those roses you venture to sip, the colours would all come away on your lip. So I'll wait for the wild rose that's waiting for me, where the mountains of Mourne sweep down to the sea. Now that was the song, The Mountains of Mourne, but the story doesn't end there. Just as Don McLean had finished singing the song, Ulick O'Connor piped up. I said, you left out the most important verse. Pardon? You left out the most important verse. I think Gabe Byrne was a little bit embarrassed. Oh, what verse is that? And here it goes on. I've seen England's king from the top of a bus. I never knew him, though he means to know us. And though by the Saxon we once were oppressed, still I cheered, God forgive me, I cheered with the rest. And now that he's visited Erin's green shore, we'll be much better friends than we've been heretofore. When we've got all we want, we're as quiet as can be, where the mountains of Mourne sweep down to the sea. Now that was the moment in history that stopped the lights for me. And God rest to Ulick and Gay and all others who are gone since that great night. Thank you.
Here's your chance to try the new cubes from Bovril, because Bovril are sending you this 3p off coupon plus these 2 cubes free. They're perfect for all your red meat cooking, packed with good meaty flavour and seasoning. Bovril made them to crumble easily, dissolve completely, to bring out the best in your cooking. Casseroles, stews, gravy, the lot. So watch out for your coupon. Plus these 2 cubes from Bovril. Try them. They're free.
This is a photograph of my great-grandmother, Honoria. She was known as Nora. She's sitting on a chair outside her cottage in Sligo, staring directly into the camera lens. This photograph was taken around about 1960, and it's as I remember her. She died in 1964. There's pride and self-assurance in her pose, but also the marks of hardship, pain and longing. I imagine her thinking about her difficult past, her children, most of whom had to immigrate, and her unseen grandchildren. I wrote this poem in response to the photograph. Honoria. Faith, I did what they asked of me, ran the rack through my white hair, put on new apron over long black skirts, hung around my neck the miraculous medal bought at the mission in Charlestown, sat outside on the kitchen chair in front of the gate and the thorn tree and stared till the camera clicked. Copies of the photograph, they told me, will be airmailed to Yonkers and Hackensack, shown to children not seen for years, grandchildren never glimpsed. Will they stand on foreign dressers, proud tokens of Irish origin, or be hidden, disgraceful reminders of ancestral hardship and hunger? I neither know nor care. Let them be sent in silence, depending on faith and hope, as I sent the children I reared. I have survived my future. Hungry Mayo of the 80s, rotting potatoes and thatch, widowhood and homelessness. My only dread was the pauper's plot, so I saved in my green post office book to pay for a decent funeral. When I finally died in 64, I left enough for an oak coffin and a wake with snuff and tobacco, whiskey and porter for friends and neighbours to remember me by. Years later, opening for a grandson, the gravedigger struck solid wood. And we'll end this fortnight with a tune from Navan bass guitarist Pat Colderick. This is one of his own compositions, Antarctica, from his album City Jam, which was released in 2014. Thanks to Pat and all the other artists who allow us use their material. Thanks to you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updates. Our next Matt and Michael will be in 2 weeks. Until then, from Matt and Michael, take care and God bless. Bye.